using my husband's computer to look up some information. A forum window suddenly popped up, and I clicked on it casually. The most popular thread in the forum was titled, Diary of Raising a Forbidden Possession. I clicked in and discovered that the account logged in by default was actually the author of the thread. I continued reading and found the post had been ongoing for a long time, still being updated. I scrolled to the earliest entry. The date was already 10 years ago. The poster wrote, I found a cute girl. I plan to shape her into my controlled possession. Step 1. Make her an orphan. And I was indeed an orphan. 10 years ago, I was only 14. Back then, the sky always felt so blue, and time flowed slowly. My family lived in an old building in the old district, covered in climbing vines. The apartment wasn't big, actually a bit crowded, but sunlight always managed to slip through the aged windows and spill golden light across the floor. Dad was a taxi driver, and his green Santana was my exclusive pumpkin carriage. Every day after school, as long as he wasn't working, he'd calculate the time and park the car at the most eye-catching spot by the school gate. I could always spot him leaning against the car door, a cigarette, unlit, between his teeth, grinning at me with those slightly yellowed smoker's teeth. Princess, your carriage awaits. He would open the door for me, treating me like real royalty. The car was always spotless, with a lemon-scented air freshener hanging in it. Dad said it helped cover the smoke smell, so his little princess could ride comfortably. Mom worked as a housekeeper for the wealthiest family in town, the Liu family. She was beautiful and skillful, always able to keep our home neat and make delicious meals from the cheapest ingredients. Her specialty was braised pork, rich but never greasy, melt-in-your-mouth tender. Whenever she made it, I'd always eat an extra bowl of rice. When Mom came home from work, she often brought leftover fruit and pastries from the Liu household. We weren't rich, in fact we were scraping by, but I never felt poor. Dad's piggy bank was a heavy tin frog with a coin slot worn shiny from use. Every night after work, he would pour all the change from his pockets into it with a clatter. Vivian, this is your college fund, he'd say, patting the tin frog, eyes shining. Mom had a tiny notebook filled with dense records of every expense. She always found ways to save money, buying me new dresses, enrolling me in tutoring classes. She often said, Our Vivian is so smart, we can't let anything limit her future. Back then, I thought happiness was the lemon scent in Dad's taxi, Mom's braised pork, and the frog piggy bank growing heavier with coins. I thought these days would continue forever, unchanging. Until one summer afternoon shattered everything. That day, Mom came home pale as a sheet. The moment she stepped in, she collapsed onto the floor. I broke the Liu family's vase, she stammered, voice trembling and choked with tears. That antique vase. 400,000. 400,000. Dad had just come home from work. His car key slipped from his hand and hit the floor with a loud clang. He froze, mouth opening and closing without a word. It's all my fault. My clumsy hands. Mom kept repeating, pounding her chest in despair. Dad grabbed her hands, eyes red. Don't say that. It's just a vase, broken is broken. As long as you're safe, nothing else matters. He tried to sound calm, but I saw his fists clench so hard his knuckles turned white. 400,000 was an impossible mountain for a family surviving on a taxi's steering wheel and a housekeeper's meager wages. That night, pretending to be asleep, I overheard my parents whispering in the living room. Should we sell the house? Mom asked, sobbing. Sell it and live where? Vivian still needs to go to school. Dad rasped. No. We can't touch the house. I'll find more work. I'll figure it out. I'll work too. You take care of the home. I'm a grown man. I can handle it. During the day, Dad stopped resting at home and went to a construction site on the outskirts. I saw him once, shirtless, carrying a heavy bag of cement across his darkened back. Sweat mixed with dust, tracing muddy streaks down his spine. By evening, he'd rush home, shovel down a few bites of food, then run back out again to unload goods at the logistics market. Late at night, he'd climb into his Santana, open the ride-hailing app, and start the night shift. The spark in his eyes dimmed day by day, replaced by exhaustion and red-rimmed darkness. Yet whenever he saw me, he would still smile, pat my head, and murmur, "Almost there. We're almost done paying." Mom also pushed herself beyond her limit. Besides working for the Liu family, she picked up multiple part-time jobs, washing dishes at restaurants, promoting products at supermarkets, cleaning office buildings. Her hands became rough, her once fair skin red and peeling from cleaning chemicals. She grew thinner, cheeks hollowing, eyes sinking. Many nights, I awoke to find her hunched over a tiny sewing machine, stitching clothes under a dim lamp, working until dawn. I cried and begged, "Dad, Mom, please stop working yourselves like this. I'll grow up and pay it back. We can pay slowly, can't we?" Dad only ruffled my hair hard and forced a smile uglier than crying. "Silly girl. Debts must be paid. We won't let you grow up burdened." Mom hugged me, her tears soaking my shoulder. "Vivian. I'm so sorry." Watching their backs bend more each day felt like a knife twisting in my heart. I started studying like my life depended on it, desperate to win scholarships, to share even a tiny bit of their burden. I believed that if we stayed united as a family, we would eventually survive this hardship. But misfortune does not ease just because you work hard. That winter night, freezing rain fell. Dad went out for another night shift. Lying in bed, listening to the wind howl outside, I felt an unexplainable dread. At 3 a.m., the phone rang, its shrill tone slicing through the silence. It was the traffic police. Fatigue driving. Collision with a small truck. The car went off the bridge. Mom fainted instantly. When Dad's body was recovered, crowds lined the riverbank. I saw the familiar green Santana, crushed beyond recognition, like a flattened soda can. When Dad's body was carried out under a white sheet, Mom broke free from everyone and lunged forward. She let out a scream so piercing it didn't sound human. Then she coughed up a mouthful of bright red blood, staining the white sheet. Mom completely collapsed. She stopped speaking, stopped eating, an empty puppet with its soul gone. She clutched Dad's portrait every day, her tears never stopping, repeating mechanically, "It's my fault. All my fault. If only I." Her mind crumbled. Not long after, on an especially cold morning, I went to wake her. She lay peacefully in bed, body ice cold. She never woke up again. In a single night, I became an orphan. I forced myself to read the entire 10-year-long raising diary, word by word. In it, the author wrote in a disturbing tone about how he destroyed my life step by step. He mentioned the vase. The vase was fake, cost me under $300. But her mother believed it. The vision of poor people is tragically limited. A fake vase is enough to crush a family. He mentioned my father's accident. Choose a rainy night and arrange for a small truck to stage the crash. Since he was driving tired, everything fits perfectly. The police will call it an accident. No one will suspect a thing. He mentioned my mother's death. Grief is the best poison. I don't need to lift a finger. She'll fall apart on her own. Soon, everything will be in place. He also wrote about everything after he adopted me. He recorded every moment I looked at him with gratitude, every time I tried to repay him with humility, saying it gave him immense thrill. The way she looks at me is like looking at a savior. She thinks I rescued her. Ridiculous. She doesn't know that I am the one who. I trembled as I turned off the computer and put it back in its place. 10 years ago, just when I thought I was going to be sent to an orphanage, the Liu family extended a helping hand. The head of the Liu family, Walter, found me. He tore up the 400,000 yuan IOU in front of me and sighed. "Your mother worked for my family for many years. Even without merit, she had her hardships. Consider this debt settled. You're a girl alone and helpless. Just live with us from now on." Back then, Walter was like a god in my eyes. I was deeply grateful to him, and vowed to repay the Liu family's kindness for the rest of my life. The Liu family also had a son, 4 years older than me, named Damien. He was handsome, intelligent, and the object of admiration for all the girls in school. He was initially a little resistant to me, but Walter told him to take care of me, so I became his little follower. I studied hard, striving to become excellent, just to get closer to his world. I got into the same university as him, and after graduation, I unhesitatingly went to work for the Liu Group. I became Walter's most capable assistant, and with my reckless work ethic, I made great contributions to the Liu Group. In my personal life, I became Damien's exclusive maid, taking care of everything for him, big or small, without complaint or regret. 3 years ago, on my 21st birthday, he proposed to me. He said, "Vivian, you've worked hard for so many years. Marry me." I married him, transforming from the Liu family's adopted daughter into the Liu family's young mistress. But married life was completely different from what I had imagined. Damien was always indifferent to me. The only time he showed interest was in bed, where Damien always had some perverted desires. Because I loved him, I always unconditionally satisfied him. Recalling the fully packed wardrobe in the bedroom, filled with erotic toys, collars, whips, playthings. Connecting these things, the words on the screen pierced my eyes painfully. So in his eyes, I wasn't his wife, but a dog he had raised for 10 years. I couldn't bear it any longer, and rushed into the bathroom, kneeling in front of the toilet, throwing up until I was dizzy. Everything in my stomach was emptied, leaving only bitter bile. But that feeling of disgust, deep in my bones, could not be shaken off. I looked at myself in the mirror and suddenly laughed. Laughing and laughing, tears streamed down my face. A full 10 years. I lived in a giant web woven with lies and sins. And the demon who wove that web slept beside me, sharing my bed every night. Hatred grew wildly in my heart. As much as I once loved him, that's how much I hate him now. I want revenge. I want him to pay a bloody price. The sound of a door opening came from the entrance. It was Damien coming home. I quickly wiped away the tears on my face, took a deep breath, and forced myself to calm down. The door was pushed open, and Damien's tall figure appeared in the doorway. He was wearing an expensive handmade suit, and his handsome face had a hint of tipsiness from alcohol. Seeing me, his brow furrowed slightly, and his tone was filled with his usual impatience. "It's so late, why aren't you asleep?" I stood up from the chair and walked to his side, reaching out to take off his suit jacket for him as usual. As my fingertips touched his carotid artery, I wondered if a hard slash could sever it. "Waiting for you." I lowered my eyes, my voice without a trace of abnormality, and hung his clothes on the hanger beside me. "Today is our 3rd wedding anniversary, and also my birthday." He replied perfunctorily, and waved his hand at me. "Come here." Like he was summoning a pet. I didn't move. His brow furrowed. "I told you to come here, what's wrong with you?" I lowered my eyes, avoiding his scrutinizing gaze. Today. I'm not feeling well." He circled me, not too fast, not too slow. "Vivian." He called my name, his voice very slow. "You today are very different." My heart jumped to my throat. "Is that so?" "Maybe. It's just that work is too tiring." I replied in the most normal tone possible. He bent down, pinched my chin, and forced me to look up. His fingers were cold, his grip was strong, pinching me painfully. He stared into my eyes, the eyes I had been obsessed with for 10 years, without a trace of affection, only lust. "Not feeling well?" The corners of his lips turned up slightly, but there was no smile. "I think you look pretty good." His other hand slid slowly down the strap of my nightgown, the cold fingertips touching my skin, and my stomach immediately churned. I stiffened my body abruptly, clenched my fists, and used all my strength to restrain myself from slapping him in the face. "I can't. Not yet. Before I push him into hell. I can't easily tear off the facade." "Damien." I forced myself to squeeze out a smile, and reached out to hold his restless hand. "Today, could you?" "Not." This was the first time I had refused him. Over the years, no matter how excessive or humiliating his demands were, I had always endured them. His movements stopped, and a trace of surprise appeared in his eyes, but unexpectedly he wasn't angry. He straightened up, glanced at me condescendingly. "Whatever you want." He threw down these 3 words, turned around, took his coat from the hanger, and walked towards the door without looking back. No argument, no anger, not even a single extra question. The sentence in the post echoed in my ears again. "Now I'm tired of the plaything. I just want a she-wolf that bites." So this is what he meant by tired. Tired to the point that he didn't even have the energy to get angry. That's fine too. I breathed a sigh of relief, slumped on the sofa, and didn't move for a long time. Until the corner of my eye caught a glimpse of a patch of white on the ground. "What's that?" I walked over slowly and bent down to pick it up. It was a folded piece of paper, which had fallen out of his coat pocket. I unfolded it. First People's Hospital of City A, ultrasound examination report. Patient name Clara. Examination conclusion. Early intrauterine pregnancy, approximately 8 weeks. Clara. Damien's secretary. I had known about this from the posts long ago, the too intentional gift. But when this light piece of paper truly appeared before my eyes, the pain of betrayal still made my heart ache. Despite the sadness, my brain was more awake than ever. Sadness, anger. These emotions only exhaust me, they are of no help. Confirming that Damien had really left, I went back into the study, turned on the computer, found the forum page, and began to operate calmly. First, I created several different email accounts, and then used these accounts to register several different encrypted cloud storage accounts. I can't put all my eggs in one basket, I have to be foolproof. Then I opened the screen recording software. Starting from the first page of the post, page by page, I recorded all the contents of the past 10 years, along with the unsightly comments below. The vase is fake, a knockoff, costing no more than 300 yuan. But her mother believed it. The vision of the poor is so pathetic. A fake vase can crush a family. Choose a rainy night. Arrange for a small truck to stage a collision. And he's driving while fatigued. Everything goes smoothly. The police will only judge it as an accident. No one will suspect it. Sadness is the best poison. I don't need to do anything. She will walk towards death herself. We can collect soon. Every sentence, every word, was like a knife, repeatedly cutting my already riddled heart. My fingers moved quickly on the keyboard and mouse, recording, taking screenshots, packaging, encrypting, uploading. I uploaded the video and screenshot files to different cloud storage accounts, setting the most complex passwords. After doing all this, I cleared all traces of operations, browsing history, and cache files from the computer. The sky was already turning a pale gray. I hadn't slept all night, but my mind was unusually excited. I knew that just having the forum posts was not enough. Damien could easily argue that this was just a web novel he wrote, a fictional creation. The Liu family's lawyers could turn black into white. I needed more direct, irrefutable evidence. Like, my father's car accident back then. The post said, arrange for a small truck to feign a collision. Who was this person? 10 years had passed, could I still find him? And also Walter, this man I regarded as a benefactor, like a father. What role did he play in all of this? The next day, I stepped into the Liu Group building. As the group's vice president in charge of personnel and business, my office was arranged on the top floor. Not far from Damien's president's office. Passing by Damien's president's office, I stopped for a moment. Clara was standing at the door, holding a file, seemingly waiting for him. When she saw me, she subconsciously shrank back, her eyes darting away, and one hand unconsciously protected her lower abdomen. I twitched the corners of my lips, didn't say anything, and continued walking forward. Back in the office, I pressed the intercom. Have the heads of the legal and personnel departments come to my office now. Also notify Clara to come in 5 minutes. My assistant Alex's voice carried a hint of hesitation. Ms. Vivian Clara. She doesn't seem to be feeling well today. Let her in. My tone brooked no argument. 5 minutes later, Clara knocked and entered, standing timidly in front of my desk. Ms. Vivian, you wanted to see me? I leaned back in my chair, crossed my hands, and quietly sized her up. First-class appearance, tall figure, very beautiful. Clara, I slowly opened my mouth. How long have you been with the company? 1 year and 2 months, Ms. Vivian. How have I treated you? She was stunned for a moment, then lowered her head. Ms. Vivian has always taken good care of me. Yes, taking good care of you. I chuckled lightly, and pushed a document in front of her. This is your resignation letter. Clara looked up, her lips moving. Why? Miss Vivian, what did I do wrong? You didn't do anything wrong. I looked into her eyes, word by word. It's just that I don't want to see you anymore. At this moment, the legal and personnel directors knocked and entered. I ignored Clara and directly issued instructions to them. Follow the procedure, she must leave the company today. N+1 compensation, not a cent less. Clara stood in place, not crying, not making a fuss, nor pleading. Miss Vivian, is it really necessary to make things so ugly? Clara crossed her arms, seemingly not afraid at all. Instead, she leaned closer to me and whispered in my ear. You think you can fire me? You seem to have overestimated yourself. I didn't want to argue with her and waved my hand. Everyone get out. The legal and personnel directors exchanged a look and left the office with Clara. In less than 10 minutes, the intercom on my desk rang. Vivian, come to my office. It was Walter's voice. Chairman's office. When I walked in, Walter was standing with his back to me, in front of the huge floor-to-ceiling windows, pruning a pot of expensive clivia. Dad. He turned around, put down the small scissors in his hand, wiped his hands with a damp towel, and pointed to the sofa opposite. Seat. His face carried a hint of reproach, but his tone was gentle. Vivian, I heard that you fired Damien's secretary today? Yes. I sat up straight. She is not suitable to stay in the company. Oh. Walter sat down in the single sofa opposite me, and personally poured me a cup of tea. This child Clara seems pretty steadfast and hard-working to me. Dad. I looked directly into his eyes. I don't need a reason to fire her. As the group's vice president and personnel director, I still have this much power. Walter picked up the teacup, gently blew on the hot steam, and did not speak immediately. After a long time, he put down the teacup and sighed. Vivian, you are too willful. I don't agree with this decision. Clara must stay. I leaned forward slightly, staring at him, and asked word by word. Is it because she's pregnant? Walter laughed, a laugh with pity and a hint of mockery. Yes, she's pregnant. He admitted it readily. Vivian, you and Damien have been married for 3 years. He said slowly. Your belly has been quiet all along. Now the Liu family will finally have an heir. I, as a grandfather, can't mistreat the mother of my grandsons and granddaughters. So, you are going to overturn my decision for the sake of an unborn child? This is not overturning. Walter corrected me. This is an arrangement. From today on, Clara's work will be directly managed by the chairman's office. Her position. Let's have her temporarily take over your position. For now, we'll talk about it after the child is born. Temporarily take over my position. A secretary, replacing a vice president. A preposterous joke. What about me then? Walter picked up the teacup and took another sip. You've been working hard recently. Don't always immerse yourself in work. I took a look. The West City branch is short of a vice president. Go there and gain some experience. It's easy and close to home, perfect for conditioning your body, and have a child for Damien sooner. West City branch. Under the entire Liu group, the worst performing, most unpromising peripheral department. The so-called vice president is just a nominal position for retirement. This was exile, kicking me away from the power center of the Liu group in one fell swoop, cleanly and neatly. In Damien's eyes, I was a plaything to be abused. In Walter's eyes, I was disposable garbage. The men of the Liu family are indeed all of a piece. Okay, I gritted my teeth. I'll follow your arrangement. Walter was very satisfied with my obedience and nodded. That's right, Vivian. You know the big picture, and know when to advance and retreat. You will always be the Liu family's daughter-in-law. Take good care of your body. That's the most important thing for you now. The unspoken implication was that if I didn't know the big picture and know when to advance and retreat, I wouldn't be the Liu family's daughter-in-law. Unfortunately, I didn't care about that now. All I was thinking about was how to get revenge. I turned and walked out of the group building and went to an unremarkable old office building in the South City. There was no elevator in the office building, and I followed the dim stairs all the way to the 7th floor. The innermost office had a simple sign on the door. Xinqing Investigation Agency. I pushed the door open. A strong smell of smoke hit my face. A man in a jacket was sitting in front of the computer, smoking a cigarette, intently playing a game. Hearing the movement, he looked back at me, his gaze lingering on my expensive clothes for a moment. Who are you looking for? Looking for you. I walked over and sat down opposite him. Are you the best detective here? The man turned off the game, exhaled a smoke ring, and leaned lazily back in his chair. Depends on what you want to investigate. The price isn't cheap. I took out an envelope from my bag and pushed it in front of him. Here's 100,000 as a deposit. The man raised his eyebrows, picked up the envelope and weighed it in his hand, then said, "Say it. What do you want to investigate?" "A car accident from 10 years ago." I said calmly. October 26, 2012, a rainy night, a ride-hailing car collided with a small truck, lost control, and fell into the river. The driver died on the spot. The deceased was named Vincent. I want you to find out if this was really an accident. The man typed a few keys on the keyboard, bringing up the news from back then. The police conclusion was an accident. Slippery roads due to rain, drowsy driving. I don't want the police conclusion, I retorted. I received information that the van back then was acting on someone's orders. I want you to find that person for me. The man was silent for a moment, staring at the old news on the computer screen, then looking at me. "Ma'am, this isn't your average affair investigation. This is reopening a case, a criminal case." "I know. Once you find something, it will involve a lot of people, a lot of things. Are you sure you want to investigate?" "I'm sure." I looked at him, my eyes firm. "Money is not a problem. I just want the truth and evidence." The man took a deep drag of his cigarette, extinguishing the butt in the ashtray. "All right." He stood up and extended his hand to me. "My name is Miles. I'll give you preliminary information in a week." I shook his hand. "I'll be waiting for your news." In the days that followed, I didn't report to the branch office, and Walter ignored my absence. In his eyes, I was probably just throwing a small tantrum, harmless and inconsequential, and I would resign myself to my fate in a few days. I wrote down the address of that forum post, and refreshed it from time to time. Yesterday afternoon, the post was updated. After being a dog for so many years, he still can't get his position right. I feel like I've been negligent as his owner. I plan to bring a little she-wolf home to stimulate her, hoping for a wolf-dog war. Oh, so Damien is planning to bring Clara back? This afternoon, I was slowly simmering a pot of white fungus and pear soup in the kitchen. Sure enough, Damien appeared in the entryway with Clara in his arms. Clara wore a pure white dress, the hem flowing. She leaned on Damien's chest, and a hint of triumph flashed in her eyes when she saw me. "Miss Vivian," she said softly. "Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot you're not Miss Vivian anymore. The green tea flavor is a bit strong." Damien pinched her waist and said deliberately, "What are you afraid of? You're the boss here from now on." His gaze was fixed on me, expecting to see me collapse and lose control. Unfortunately, I just looked at them, my face expressionless. "You're back?" I asked. "What do you want for dinner? I'll have the housekeeper prepare it." Damien was slightly stunned. This was not what he had expected. Clara was also a little disappointed. What do you mean?" Damien frowned. He didn't like this feeling of being out of control. "I don't mean anything." I walked up to them, my gaze falling from his face to Clara's. "Miss Clara is visiting our home for the first time. Don't just stand there. Sit down." My gaze was too open and frank, so frank that Clara's pretense was starting to crumble. "Sister Vivian, don't be like this. Damien and I are truly in love. I know you're very sad. If you're angry, then hit me, scold me." As she spoke, her eyes turned red, and she looked pitiful. A few days ago, I would probably have been trembling with anger. But now I just found it funny. "Hit you? Scold you?" I gently shook my head. "Ms. Clara, you misunderstand. Why would I be angry? Damien liking you is his freedom. As his wife, if I can't even tolerate what he likes, then I'm failing as a wife." These words completely stunned Damien and Clara. "Damien, the Liu family is so big." I leaned back on the sofa, turning my head to look at him. "If you want her to move in, I have no objections. It's just that there are many rooms in the house. I don't know if Ms. Clara prefers south-facing or north-facing. The south-facing rooms have good sunlight, but they can be a bit sunny in the afternoon. The north-facing rooms are quieter." Clara's expression was not good. She was supposed to be the victor, accepting the loser's jealousy and anger, but not only was I not angry, but I was also enthusiastically arranging a room for her. This greatly reduced the pleasure in her heart. Damien's face was also extremely ugly. He brought Clara back to satisfy his twisted desires. He wanted to see us at each other's throats, enjoying the thrill of being fought over by women. But my submissive behavior thwarted his hopes. This feeling made him very frustrated. "Vivian, stop being so sarcastic," Damien said angrily. "I'm not. I looked innocent. I'm being sincere. Anyway, I'm going to move to the branch office, aren't I? This place will be yours sooner or later." After I finished speaking, I stood up and walked towards the kitchen. "Oh right, I made sweet soup. Do you want some? It's good for beauty and skin." Damien completely lost interest in ridiculing me, pulled Clara up, and went upstairs without looking back. In the evening, my phone vibrated. It was a message from Miles. "Is it convenient to answer the phone?" I immediately replied that it was convenient, then put on my headphones and walked to the window. The call was quickly connected. "Miss Vivian," Miles' voice came through. "How's the investigation going?" I asked, my voice very low. "We've found some things." Miles' tone was a bit serious. The driver of the van back then was called Roy. He was addicted to gambling and owed a lot of usurious loans. In the second year after the accident, he stopped driving and spent his days in underground casinos. A few years ago, people chasing him for debts cornered him on the roof, and he jumped to his death on the spot. The police record is suicide. Dead. My vision blurred, and the only clue was cut off just like that? Does he have any family? My voice trembled. "Hold on, let me check." The sound of typing on a keyboard came from the other end of the line. Every second felt like an eternity. Just when I was about to despair, Miles finally spoke. "Yes. He has a daughter." "What's her name?" I asked, my throat dry. Miles took a drag of his cigarette and slowly uttered 2 words. Those 2 words were like a thunderbolt, exploding in my mind. He said, "Clara." Roy was the driver Damien arranged to kill my father. Clara is Roy's daughter. And now, Clara has become Damien's mistress. There can't be so many coincidences in this. Since Damien likes to brag online, maybe there are posts related to Clara as well? To find out the truth, I opened the forum again. This time, I directly entered Damien's ID and searched for all his posts. A new post title appeared prominently on the screen. Project She-Wolf. The post was published more than 2 years ago. After playing games for so long, I always want to try something new. After getting tired of pets, raising a she-wolf is not bad. Fierce enough, ruthless enough, biting people is exciting. The little she-wolf has finally sharpened her teeth. Her eyes finally only contain hatred for the concubine. My good show is about to begin. I read on, Damien recording everything in his bragging tone. The she-wolf's father is a nuisance, addicted to gambling, a bottomless pit. But he's also easy to deal with. That guy thought he had a handle on me back then, and dared to negotiate with me. He was just courting death. A game of gambling, and he will never recover. The rooftop, chasing debts, he accidentally fell. Police record, suicide. Perfect. The little she-wolf's family is ruined. She has no relatives to turn to. What great material, a blank sheet of paper that I can paint with any color I want. I told her the truth. I told her that the concubine forged the usurious debt and drove her father to death. I forged evidence, and she actually believed it without any doubt, and willingly surrendered herself to me. Hilarious. The she-wolf's eyes have changed. She looks at me with admiration and dependence. She looks at the concubine with deep hatred. Too absurd. Damien actually fabricated such a lie, pushing all the sins onto me. No wonder Clara's gaze always carried such a complex emotion. In her eyes, I am her father's killer. And her moving into my house and sleeping with my husband are all to take revenge on me. The post was updated today. I brought the she-wolf home. I'm looking forward to a good show, looking forward to seeing the concubine collapse, be jealous and go crazy. But no, she's too calm, abnormally calm. She even kindly wants to arrange a room for the she-wolf. This feeling of being out of control is not good. Has she discovered something? No. Imposible. This plan is flawless. She's probably just too angry, using this method to pretend to be calm. It doesn't matter, the game has just begun. I will let her, the she-wolf I raised with my own hands, be torn to pieces bit by bit. How about adding a catalyst? For example, arranging an accident to make the she-wolf have an abortion, then framing the kept woman? How hilarious, a she-wolf actually dares to conceive my seed. I'm really looking forward to this plot. So Clara. She wasn't the hateful third party. She wasn't even my enemy. Like me, she was just a plaything in the hands of Damien, this demon. Damien wants to see us fight, but I won't. I want to turn this knife around and stab its master hard. I dialed Miles' number again. Help me investigate Roy's accidental fall from the building. The police determined it was suicide while fleeing loan sharks. I want you to find out who the real creditor behind the loan he took out is, and who were the people chasing him on the rooftop that day. A week later, I received an encrypted file from Miles, which contained a detailed investigation report. Roy was indeed a gambler, but he didn't borrow from ordinary loan sharks. The real boss behind that underground casino ultimately pointed to a distant cousin of Damien's. And Miles also found one of the debt collectors, who drove Roy to his death. That person is now a drug addict and willing to say anything for drug money. He confessed that they didn't plan to kill Roy that day at all. It was the boss who ordered them to push him to his death. And the contact information that the so-called boss used to give them orders, after technical tracing, ultimately pointed to a virtual number used by Damien. Obviously, Roy's death was a murder planned by Damien. He first ruined a man with gambling, then used the lie of revenge to turn his daughter into his kept woman and weapon. Just how evil is this man? The time has come. Now I need to find an opportunity to contact Clara alone. This opportunity came soon. Damien was going to a neighboring city to attend a 2-day business forum. He originally wanted to take Clara with him, but Clara had been experiencing severe morning sickness recently, so he dismissed the idea. On the morning he left, he even instructed me, "Take good care of Clara, she's carrying my first child." I nodded expressionlessly. I know. He was very satisfied with my obedience and left in high spirits. I watched the black Bentley disappear at the gate, then turned around and walked step by step up to the second floor. Clara's door was ajar. I could hear suppressed gagging sounds coming from inside. I pushed the door open. Clara was leaning over the bed, her face pale and her hair disheveled. When she saw me, she immediately became vigilant and fierce. "What are you doing here?" Her voice was hoarse from weakness, but it was fierce. I ignored her provocation, walked straight to her, pulled out a chair and sat down. "Let's talk." "I have nothing to talk to you about." She turned her face away. "Let's talk about your father, Roy." She suddenly turned her head and glared at me. "You're not worthy to mention my dad. You murderer." "I'm not." I met her gaze. "The one who drove your father to his death wasn't me. It was Damien." Clara was stunned, then burst into sharp laughter. "Ha ha ha ha. Are you crazy? To force me to leave, you're even making up lies like this?" She pointed at me. "The murderer is you. Damien told me everything. You fabricated the loan shark contract to avenge my dad's driving error that killed your dad, and you drove him to his death. Are you still trying to quibble? So Damien is your benefactor, right?" I asked softly. "He helped you find out the truth, and even let you conceive his child, giving you a chance to take revenge on me." "Yes." Clara nodded. "Damien is the best person in the world. He's not like you, with a heart of a viper." "A heart of a viper?" I laughed, took out my phone from my pocket, and opened that familiar forum page. "Then take a look at how the best person in your mouth evaluates you." I handed the phone to her. The words on the screen were, "She-Wolf Training Program." Clara's eyes fell on the phone screen, a little hesitant, but she still took the phone and looked at it. Playing games for too long, you always want to try something new. When you're tired of keeping pets, raising a she-wolf is not bad. Fierce enough, ruthless enough, and bites people with gusto. The little she-wolf has finally sharpened her teeth, and her eyes finally only have hatred for the kept woman. My good show is about to begin. Clara's breathing began to quicken. She looked at the words on the screen in disbelief, then suddenly looked up at me, her eyes full of horror. "No. This is not true. You forged it." She muttered to herself, as if trying to convince herself. "Forged it? Then take a look at this. Look at the poster's ID, DK, Damien." I stared into her eyes word by word. "Clara, open your eyes and see clearly who is your enemy." Clara's body began to tremble uncontrollably, her fingers shaking as she swiped down. She saw how Damien evaluated her gambling addict father. She saw how Damien casually designed a suicide. She saw how Damien described her as a blank sheet of paper that could be painted on at will. She saw Damien's smugness and ridicule about fabricating evidence against her, making her willingly submit to him. I told her the truth. I told her that the kept woman forged the loan shark debt and drove her dad to his death. I forged the evidence and she didn't even doubt it, and willingly submitted to me. Hilarious. Hilarious. Clara repeated these 3 words, the color on her face instantly fading, really becoming like a blank sheet of paper. She saw the last update. How about adding a catalyst? For example, arranging an accident to make the she-wolf have an abortion, then framing the kept woman? How hilarious, a she-wolf actually dares to conceive my seed. I'm really looking forward to this plot. With a thud, the phone slipped from her hand and fell on the carpet. Only her heavy and painful breathing was heard in the room. A scream so shrill it didn't sound human burst from the depths of her throat. She hugged her head with both hands, curled up in pain, and tears poured down her face like a dam had burst. She cried for a long time, from suppressed sobs to loud weeping, and finally to powerless choking. I didn't try to comfort her. I knew she needed to vent. I silently picked up the phone, and also retrieved the evidence file sent by Miles from the computer, which contained the truth about her father's death, and placed it in front of her. These are the evidence of Damien murdering your father. After crying for who knows how long, Clara finally stopped. She reached out her trembling hand and opened the folder. Document after document, evidence after evidence, completely shattered her last bit of fantasy. She finally understood that she had hated the wrong person, and loved the wrong person. He wants to watch a show. Clara's voice was hoarse, squeezing out these words from between her teeth. He wants to see me tear you apart. He wants to see me miscarry, and then frame you. She looked up, her eyes burning, and looked at me. Okay. Then I'll act it out for him. I looked at the resolute ferocity in her eyes. I knew that the she-wolf raised by Damien's own hands had finally sharpened her fangs. Only this time, the target of the hunt had become its master. What do you want to do? Play along. Clara stroked her still flat abdomen, a strange and tragic smile on her face. Isn't he looking forward to me having an abortion? Doesn't he want to put the blame on you? Then let's make this happen as he wishes. My heart jumped. This plan was even crazier than I imagined. Using her own child as bait to set up a trap. This is too dangerous. I instinctively objected. And this child. Clara smiled miserably, tears streaming down again. I can't give birth to the devil's child. Rather than letting it disappear silently, it's better to let it become the final sacrifice to judge the devil. Okay. I didn't try to persuade her anymore. But we need evidence. Irrefutable, ironclad evidence that can nail him down. Otherwise, with Damien's means, he has a million ways to get away with it. Evidence. Clara fell into thought. Cameras. I said, we can install pinhole cameras at home. Clara's eyes lit up instantly. Yes, cameras. Living room, dining room, kitchen. Install them everywhere he might do something. Leave this to me. I nodded. Damien won't be back until tomorrow. We still have 24 hours. Once the plan was set, our actions became efficient. I immediately contacted Miles and asked him to find the most professional installation team. In the smoke detector in the living room, behind the decorative picture frame in the dining room, on the socket panel in the kitchen facing the countertop, and even in the power light of the TV in my and Damien's bedroom, micro-sized cameras were installed. These cameras were connected to a cloud server, which could record 24 hours a day without interruption, and be synchronized to my phone in real time. After seeing the repairman off, Clara and I stood in the empty living room, looking around. From now on, I said to Clara, we are still enemies. You hate me to the core and I'm mad with jealousy. We have to act even more convincingly than before to deceive that old fox, Damien. Clara nodded heavily. On the third afternoon, Damien returned. He pushed open the door and saw Clara and me sitting on the sofa in the living room, one on either side. A boring variety show was playing on TV, but neither of us was watching. Clara was looking down, her fingers unconsciously twisting the hem of her clothes. I was folding my arms and staring coldly at the TV screen. The corners of Damien's mouth immediately turned up in a satisfied smile. He liked this feeling. Two women were at each other's throats for him, ready to draw swords, and he was the king who controlled everything. What's going on here? I've only been gone for 2 days, and you two are already at each other's throats. He walked over and sat next to Clara, pulling her into his arms. Clara leaned into his embrace, her voice tinged with grievance. Damien, when you're not home, Vivian is always. She's always bullying me. She acts obedient in front of you, but it's all an act. Damien's eyes lit up, patting Clara's back, but his eyes were on me. That's just her temper, throwing a tantrum. Don't pay her any attention. I snorted lightly, abruptly stood up, walked back to the bedroom, and slammed the door shut. In the following days, the war between Clara and I escalated. She would deliberately flaunt the limited edition bag that Damien had recently bought her in front of me. After dinner, I would push a plate of stinky tofu in front of her, saying, "Pregnant women should eat more nutritious things." We even argued over a TV remote control, having a big fight in front of Damien. Damien watched with great interest, completely immersed in the script he had woven, enjoying the pleasure of being the director. He didn't know that behind every argument, we exchanged glances that only the two of us understood. He also didn't know that the omnipresent eyes in the house were silently recording everything he did. Finally, on the 5th day after his return, he felt that the time was ripe. That evening, after dinner, Damien, unusually, didn't get cozy with Clara but called me into the study. He leaned back in his office chair, relaxed. Clara has been experiencing severe morning sickness lately. It's heartbreaking to watch, he said slowly. I stood opposite him, sneering inwardly, but my face was frosty. If you're heartbroken, take her to the hospital. What's the point of telling me? I consulted a doctor, and they said that drinking some light fish soup would help, he said, ignoring my attitude completely. You should personally stew a pot of soup tomorrow to nourish her body. Here it comes. I deliberately acted unwilling. Why should I serve her? Who does she think she is? Because she's carrying my child. Damien's face darkened, and he said in a commanding tone, "This is a descendant of the Liu family, and nothing can go wrong. Do you understand?" I gritted my teeth, my chest heaving violently, and after a long moment, I squeezed out a few words from between my teeth. Understood. Damien nodded in satisfaction and waved for me to leave. Back in the room, I immediately sent Clara a message. Fish soup. Tomorrow. Soon I received her reply. Received. The next day, as Damien instructed, I bought the freshest crucian carp. In the kitchen, in front of the nanny, I cleaned and boiled, meticulously following every step. The soup simmered in the pot, sending out inviting aromas, and the milky white broth was fragrant. The nanny praised from the side. "Madam, your cooking skills are truly excellent." I looked at the pot of soup, but my heart was ice cold. The soup was ready around noon. Damien came downstairs, glanced at the kitchen, and then beckoned me over. "Come here for a moment. I seem to have forgotten the password to the safe in my study. Could you help me try it?" It was a clumsy and laughable excuse. But I obediently wiped my hands and walked towards the study. I deliberately lingered in the study for a long time, trying several incorrect password combinations. And my phone clearly displayed the real-time surveillance footage of the kitchen. I saw that less than 30 seconds after I left the kitchen, Damien dismissed the nanny and slipped inside. He strode to the stove and took out a small plastic bag from his pocket, pouring all the powder inside into the boiling fish soup. He picked up a ladle and stirred carefully, until the powder was completely dissolved. After seeing him do all this, I turned off my phone screen. "I remember," I deliberately exclaimed, and then entered the correct password. The safe clicked open. Walking out of the study, my face was as usual as I walked to the kitchen, ladled a bowl of soup, and went upstairs. Clara was sitting by the window reading a book, when she saw me come in with the soup. I placed the soup on the table in front of her, and gave her a barely perceptible nod. She also returned a firm gaze. I turned and left, gently closing the door. About half an hour passed. A piercing scream cut through the silence of the villa. It was Clara's voice. I rushed out of the room, and Damien also rushed out of the study at almost the same time. We rushed into Clara's room together. Clara was curled up on the ground, clutching her stomach with both hands, her face devoid of color, her expression twisted in pain. And beneath her, a pool of bright red blood was rapidly spreading across the carpet. Clara! Clara, what's wrong? Damien rushed over and hugged Clara, his face full of panic and heartache. Then he suddenly looked up, glaring at me. It's you, isn't it? He pointed at me, roaring hysterically. Did you put something in the soup? You're so wicked. He was acting so well. Anger, shock, disbelief. If I hadn't seen the surveillance with my own eyes, I would almost have applauded his acting skills. Slowly, I took out my phone from my pocket. I dialed 110. I pressed the call button and put the phone to my ear. Then, amid Damien's shocked expression, I said, Hello? 110? I want to report a crime. My husband Damien intentionally inflicted harm, causing someone to miscarry. The address is Building A No. 1 Chanchouet Manor. Damien's pupils contracted sharply. You're crazy, he shrieked. Vivian, you're fucking crazy. Why are you calling the police? The voice of the 110 operator came from the other end of the line. Madam, please remain calm. Repeat your address, we will dispatch officers immediately. Building A No. 1 Chanchouet Manor. I repeated. It wasn't me. Police officers, it wasn't me. It was her. It was this woman. Damien finally reacted, roaring madly into my phone. She was the one who poisoned her. She wanted to harm Clara. She's jealous that Clara is pregnant with my child. She's the murderer. His voice echoed through the empty room, hysterical. I dialed 120 again. Vivian. Damien roared, lunging at me, his fingers spread wide, trying to strangle me. You worthless slut. I'm going to kill you. I raised my right hand and pointed to the upper corner of the room. In that corner, there was an inconspicuous camera. Damien's movements froze instantly. He followed the direction of my finger and saw the lens. At that moment, he finally realized something, and his face turned completely white. You, he stammered, since when? I didn't answer him, because the sound of sirens was already approaching. Damien's body trembled violently. He looked at me in horror, then at Clara moaning in pain on the floor, and finally his gaze turned to the door in despair. He wanted to run, but it was too late. Soon, several uniformed police officers rushed in. Police? What's going on? The leading officer looked around, his eyes sharp. Police officers. Damien preemptively filed a complaint. It's her. It was this woman who poisoned her. She's jealous that Clara is pregnant with my child, so she wanted to harm them and the baby. She's the one who brought the soup. You should arrest her. The police's gaze shifted to me, filled with scrutiny. I unlocked my phone, pulled up the video I had prepared long ago, and handed it to the officer. Officer, please take a look at this first. The video was very clear. In the footage, Damien sneaked in furtively, took out the plastic bag from his pocket, and poured all the white powder inside into the fish soup. He even meticulously stirred it with a soup spoon. The evidence was irrefutable. The police officer's expression instantly turned serious. Sir, the officer's voice was as cold and hard as iron. We now suspect you of intentional injury. Please come with us to assist in the investigation. 2 police officers stepped forward, one on each side, preparing to restrain him. No, it wasn't me. The video is fake. She photoshopped it. Damien was still struggling for a last chance. He suddenly turned to Clara on the floor. Clara, tell them it wasn't me. Tell them. Everyone's attention focused on Clara. She weakly raised her head, tear stains clinging to her pale face. She extended a trembling hand, pointing at Damien. Officer. It was him. It was him. He said. He said this child was a burden and would affect him. He wanted me to have an abortion long ago. Today. That bowl of soup. He must have drugged it. Damien looked at Clara in disbelief, the woman he thought he had wrapped around his little finger. He opened his mouth, as if wanting to say something, but in the end he only let out a strange, hoarse sound. The police officers no longer hesitated, took out handcuffs and skillfully cuffed his hands. No. Let me go. You can't arrest me. My dad is Walter. He began to struggle frantically, cursing obscenities. But it was all in vain. He was dragged away by the 2 police officers, leaving the room. At the same time, the 120 emergency medical personnel arrived. They carried Clara away on a stretcher. Clara wasn't very far along in her pregnancy, so she didn't suffer too much damage, only the fetus in her belly was lost. The next few days were calm and uneventful. Damien was criminally detained, but the Liu family was unusually quiet. I knew this was the calm before the storm. That old fox Walter must be using all his connections, trying to get Damien out. Intentional injury resulting in miscarriage is a serious charge, but with a top-notch legal team, plus the Liu family's wealth and connections, turning black into white is not impossible. They can claim it was vitamin powder. They can find someone to commit perjury. They can throw all the mud at me and Clara. We can't give them that chance. Clara had been discharged from the hospital, and she and I went to the Municipal Public Security Bureau together. This time, we weren't just the reporters of the crime, but also simultaneously conducted a real name report online. We reported Damien, not only for intentional injury, but also for hiring a murderer and illegally running usury and other charges. I submitted the evidence Miles had collected during this time, as well as the evidence I had obtained after working at the Liu Group for many years. Clara took out a recording pen. Inside is the evidence my father Roy left behind. Clara's voice was very calm. 10 years ago, Damien gave him 200,000 yuan, asking him to create a car accident. The target was Vivian's father. You can also investigate their capital flow records from that year. Walking out of the Public Security Bureau, I felt relieved all over. Damien couldn't handle the usury business alone. Behind him, there must be Walter's acquiescence and support. Uproot the radish and bring out the mud. This time, I'm going to turn the entire Liu family upside down. The speed of the matter escalating was faster than I imagined. Based on the clues we provided, the police quickly sealed up several shell companies under Damien's name and froze the relevant accounts. The evidence chain for the usury was complete and clear, undeniable. As for the case of hiring a murderer, the police directly summoned Damien for questioning. Under the conclusive evidence and the pressure from the police, Damien's psychological defenses collapsed, and he confessed all his crimes on the spot. Coupled with intentional injury resulting in miscarriage, with multiple crimes combined, Damien would basically have to spend the rest of his life in prison. Walter completely couldn't sit still anymore. He started to act like a madman, trying to suppress these things by using relationships and throwing money around everywhere. But this time he was facing not a simple injury case, but a serious crime involving human life. What's more, Clara and I were prepared and directly leaked it to several influential media outlets. Wealthy young master poisons his girlfriend, causing her to miscarry. Insane. Actually hires a murderer to harm his wife's father. Liu Group is deeply mired in the usury scandal. Multiple victims' families are ruined. One shocking news headline after another spread like a virus on the internet. The public opinion completely exploded. The Liu Group stock price plummeted, and its market value evaporated by nearly 10 billion yuan in 3 days. The public's anger poured towards the Liu family like a tide. At this moment, the investigation by the task force also had a new breakthrough. In the investigation of the usury case, they accidentally discovered that Walter was not only an accomplice, but also one of the main manipulators behind the scenes. Moreover, in order to help Damien cover up his crimes, he had bribed and threatened relevant witnesses multiple times. Charges: shielding, bribery, illegal operation. Multiple crimes combined. An arrest warrant was delivered to the chairman's office of the Liu Group. Walter's face was ashen when he was taken away from his leather chair, which symbolized power, by the police. The Liu family father and son were both arrested. Just when everyone thought that the Liu Group was about to disintegrate, Clara and I appeared in the conference room on the top floor of the Liu Group headquarters. The vast majority of the Liu Group shares are in Damien and Walter's names. Damien's mother died early, and I, as Damien's legal wife, had temporary equity proxy holding and voting rights in the event that he could not exercise shareholder rights. And Clara, as my assistant, made a dazzling appearance. After a series of struggles and cleansing, Clara and I finally officially took over the Lou Group. We stood in the office that once belonged to Walter, overlooking the bustling traffic below through the huge floor-to-ceiling windows. Clara walked up to me and handed me a glass of red wine. "To us," she said. I took the glass and lightly clinked it with hers. "To us."